Welcome to Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast, episode 051. This is Stephen Little, and I'm here with
Isaac Tauaefa.
Josh Straussberger.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Look at how cordial we're being.
Gentlemanly.
Gentlemanly, like.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome.
Good evening, Lucas.
Hi.
Our brother JP Donnell is not with us tonight. He is traveling, doing what he does best, leading, teaching, training. But we miss him.
Correct.
We'll see you soon.
Hey, let's just jump out of the gates. We want to thank our sponsor, Jocko Fuel, for supplying us with the best supplements on and off the mat.
Factual.
Oh, yeah.
If you've listened to any other episodes,
That's
you know
That's it.
we have a code at jockofuel.com, which is J&JJ10. That saves you 10%. J&JJ10 saves you 10%. Also, jump over to Origin, Maine. I'm wearing my beautiful field pants.
Must be
Origin
nice.
field pants.
Must be nice.
so
The exact
nice.
ones I want. The exact ones I
Oh,
want.
the
Sweet.
ones that I have. Right.
Yeah.
They
I'm
look-
not coveting.
They're so nice.
But
hey, Ike,
must
go
be
to originusa.com or Origin, Maine, like the state. Either
Right.
Both sites work. Same thing. Originusa.com. Go to those field pants.
Yeah.
Use code JJJ10 and it's
You'll
going to
get
save you
10% off.
And you're going to support an awesome ministry.
I
Right.
want the deal that Josh got, though, on those pants.
Well, when you work for the team and it's their uniform,
Yeah.
you
Be
tend
nice.
to get a deal.
That must be
Next
nice.
time, why don't you
Oh, it
order
must be
like
nice.
2X for
Yeah,
yourself?
they're
or
going to,
something?
yeah.
Or like XL. What
They,
size are they?
these
they're
pant
the big
sizes.
size pant size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll send you my pant size. You can just order those exactly.
Oh, okay.
Got 28 waist, right?
Yeah.
28 waist.
I got
and
2
a
pairs. I'll
40
give you a pair of
40
mine.
length.
40 length.
40 length.
Your legs are shorter than mine.
Hey, man.
Every time I slam this down, it's go time.
right.
Cowabunga it
Okay,
is.
you got to show the camera.
Okay. This is my alter ego.
He doesn't actually believe in alter ego. Don't
I was
freak
about
out.
to
It's a
say
Christian podcast.
we don't really support that.
It's just a phrase.
Not spirit animal.
Not that type of stuff.
No.
Although,
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
for those of you that are just listening, Josh Straussberger,
Breathing a little heavy over there, Strauss. You're getting excited.
he embodies
He's wearing
this
me out
meme
already.
that I saw that is a picture of Michelangelo, the Ninja Turtle from the live action 90s movies. But he's got this crazed look in his eye, this unhinged look. And the meme is cowabunga it is. And it's like when something's about to pop off and you're like, all right, you chose wrong. Cowabunga it is, you know. You broke in at midnight. Well, there's Josh standing in his underwear with
With
a
a
flashbang,
crossbow.
with a flashbang and a tomahawk and a crossbow slung on his back saying, cowabunga it is.
It's factual.
Broke into the wrong house.
Yeah. I've been
And
waiting
then he
for
pulls
this.
guard.
Been
He
waiting
pulls
for this.
Half guard. He'll break your leg,
The
dude.
only person I pull guard on is Isaac.
yeah. Half guard. Straight to...
Well, that's
Well.
different.
All right, so here's the deal. We're going to jump right out there with Q&A part 2.
Part 2.
We got another sponsor to talk about in a minute. We got some more banter to have, but I'm going to fuel the banter with some of the questions that came in. So from Grappling Dude, which he had one last week, I heard.
Yeah.
I
Appreciate
listened.
you grappling, dude.
From Grappling Dude, with prison rules in a gi, who wins, Josh or Isaac?
We should put a poll on Instagram.
Prison rules in a gi, Josh or Isaac?
Listen, here's the thing. We fight amongst each other, but I'll preserve the honor of my brother, dude. It's the equivalent of a brotherly kiss and tell. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen if we get in a fight. You know what I mean?
Brotherly kiss and tell?
Yeah, a violent kiss and tell. There's no kissing going on, but I'm saying I'm not going to reveal what would happen behind closed doors. We would just fight. One of us would win. We'd both come out bloody, and then you'd say, okay, who won? And we'd just say,
All right,
Jesus.
So here's the deal. So I'm gonna call it a draw because here's why. Josh is gonna bring the weapons,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
you're gonna get shivved and shanked
Yep.
and who knows what else.
Slashed.
Memphis,
Twisted.
Maine.
Maine?
But Isaac might rip your leg off in the process.
Correct.
Because in the gi, like you unhinge him, he's just gonna go full Tasmanian devil.
I know, and it's something like
you know what I'm saying?
there's.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm
Yes.
not. I'm not. there's no way somebody's coming out unscathed. Like,
See, because if it was really like a fight for the life, it's like Isaac has this explosive power, and none of us have ever seen him fully
utilize that. Yeah, nobody's seen that.
But Josh is just going to lay there and let you rip a leg off so he can get those shivs in.
And he actually practices every time we roll. He practices stabbing me in the rib cage, in the sternum.
You got to stay ready.
In the liver.
Yeah.
So it's going to be
in the neck.
It's going to be
kidneys.
good.
Now, so a lot of times prison rules just means like heel hooks, wrist locks, toe holds.
Yeah.
All that's allowed.
Yeah.
But still within a jiu-jitsu.
I don't, that's not prison rules from where I'm from.
I know what you mean, though. But in the
I'm not from Memphis.
They
but-
wouldn't. Grappling dude wouldn't have included a gi if he didn't mean like jiu-jitsu rules.
Right.
But street rules, like, okay, we can heel hook in the gi.
Unless you both just left your house that morning in a gi
Yeah.
and you just met on the streets and straight prison rules.
Which is going to happen.
Nah. We'd just be meeting at training.
Right. But I've got my knife with me.
I wouldn't underestimate Josh. You should have a plan to, what's the quote? You should have a plan to kill everybody in the room. You should be nice to everyone, but have a plan. I don't really have a plan to kill you guys. But if it came time to actually go prison rules, I know Josh would be trying to heel hook me. So I'll just do my classic move. I'll just spit in his eyes, and then he's going to have to let go of it. Then I'll punch him in the throat and stand up.
I don't need to see.
Okay, so I'm going to rapid fire two more questions that are
Great question.
fun.
Yeah, great question.
That's fun.
All right, here we go. From Robin, beloved Robin,
I know her.
from Robin and Dave.
Uh-huh.
Without starting any fights,
Too late.
what's your favorite cut of Little Calico beef and why? I'm just gonna drop it out there. My favorite is, I already know we're gonna have the same. It's the tomahawk.
Correct.
The tomahawk.
Correct.
Haven't eaten one yet. I
you
have
have
one in
one.
my freezer, and I'm going to. But
Correct.
I will say I'm holding out for the picanha. I'm looking forward to the picanha.
So speaking of Dave and Robin, he's a picanha fan. I've seen him cook quite a few in tag.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and the great honor from them is they've sent me photos from like high end Brazilian steakhouses. Like this picanha doesn't measure up.
yeah.
See, well,
Yeah.
yep. And I've eaten a lot of picanhas, and I've eaten a lot of cheaper ones too, just like for value, or bang for your buck, whatever. And I found that little calicos are smaller than some of the ones where they are fed a whole bunch of stuff they're not supposed to be fed, and they have all kinds of hormones and stuff they're not supposed to have, and that actually translates into the meat. So I know that's going to be great quality meat, even based on the ground beef.
Yeah.
I mean, I just know the quality's better, so I'm excited for that cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's got to be that tomahawk. steak,
tomahawk.
Yeah.
And JP, he's not here, but he would pick the Terrace Major.
probably.
Those tomahawks, though.
Yeah.
He likes tomahawks though too. That'd be a tough one for
Yeah.
him.
Those.
I'm stoked. Yeah, it's happening sometime soon.
Danny Wells. I don't know if y'all are ready for this. This is a Pursuit reference, which we all just got back from Pursuit recently. Pursuit 14. Can Isaac and Josh? It's all about you guys.
Oh,
Can Isaac and
golly.
Josh share a chair for at least part of an episode?
Because we
These
have a
ha-
tradition.
These have armrests, though, so I don't know.
No.
Could you slide down this thing?
I couldn't.
Okay, here's one for our brother JP. This is from John Envisions. And I'm assuming you're an avid listener. I'm hoping that this is a joke. How can we buy the BJJ and Jesus? Well, how can we buy the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu rash guard?
You can
Soon.
pull out your wallet and then put it back in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as it's available, we will let you know.
Yeah,
It's an
and I've been
origin
saying
thing.
this.
I know.
Yeah. I've been saying this, but we will do a pre-sale that way, because then we'll be able to we'll have all of those funds up front to be able to hand over to Origin. But that's when they're ready to be able to receive that kind of order.
Yeah.
So we're finally set up administratively, and you guys don't need to know all the details, but on the back end, we've been working hard to get things set up correctly. We've had just 1 year finally to figure out how to work out some kinks, and we moved banks and all kinds of stuff for the nonprofit, and so we're finally going to be set up to be able to
Correct.
receive the
Well,
donations.
hey,
to do it.
Lucas had a great point. He just sent a text. You could actually roll up $100 bill and you could put that in your USB drive, and then that would be the only way currently that you could actually get a rash guard. So if you'll take your USB drive, go ahead and stick it in your computer.
Right in your
The money will
and then
go
put the
digital at that
$100
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
USB-C, pop the chip out of your car and just
Straight in.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to be getting a bill from all these people that ruin their laptops.
Do not do that.
Don't do it.
Okay. So we got some more serious questions to jump into. I just thought we'd start with some fun ones. Who has our sponsor? Is that you, Ike? Josh?
No.
No, I think we're good.
Okay. We're good with Jocko Fuel this time.
Yep.
Beautiful. So let's dive into a couple more Q&As.
You should read the one that my brother sent.
No, I'm not going to read that one.
It's funny. And I
Maybe
can
in a
take
minute.
it. Okay.
Oh, wait, here's one from. Here's one more funny one. Josiah _ BJJ730. Yo, can you guys follow me? Cry face. No, Josiah. But keep following us.
I will. Send me a DM.
Yeah. I don't have access to the Jiu-Jitsu
Not on the
thing,
Jiu-Jitsu page.
but
Send me-
No, we'll
send it to
follow
me.
you, bro. If I
On me-
remember to
on
come
my-
back.
yeah.
I took screenshots so I wouldn't be distracted.
yeah, smart.
So as long as we remember to come back, we would love to follow you.
Yeah. That's legit.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. This guy's handle is kind of funny. It's a bunch of things, but I think I sent my question to Isaac. But best workouts in the gym to help with the jiu-jitsu.
Well,
Jiu-Jitsu.
oops. Yeah, that's
So I will answer for me.
Yep.
I have always, for 21 years now, I've consistently done a or some people would call it like a bodybuilding style workout, but just like isolation work. So I go in and have like a chest day, go in and have a back day, a leg day, do some arms, shoulders, this kind of stuff. And so, but isolating one body part or group at a time and tearing it down, starting with some compound lifts. So like on legs, you start with some squats, some straight leg deadlifts, some bigger movements, chest, starting with some bench press type stuff. I really like heavy dumbbell bench because it's nice on my shoulders.
Yep.
Working towards some machines and some auxiliary lifts, but really like hitting 20 plus sets per muscle is where I like to push into like 30, 35 sets. A lot of times it's just fun. You don't have to do that much volume, but I like it. So what I'm saying is this is a low, when you have proper form and all that, it's a low impact way to work out and where you can have a lot of longevity if you're doing it smart compared to some of these higher impact workouts like CrossFit. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's actually great for athletic performance, but I see more of my friends that train CrossFit having more serious injuries more often. And a lot of the guys that I want to be like, when I see these old guys, and I say that respectfully, but guys in their 60s and 70s and the way they look, they train that like, I'm like, I want to look like you. I want to have the just the energy and the ability that you have when I'm in my 60s and 70s. A lot of these guys work out like I'm describing. So, but what I'm saying is I find that for me, it has translated really well on the mat because for one, it's just how I've always lifted. And so it's just a general strength and control over your body. And you've got to hit all your body parts. You can't neglect legs or back or something like that. You've got to train, you got to be well-rounded, but just a general strength really helps. But I like it because it's low impact and jiu-jitsu can be high impact.
Right.
So I think some of these, and it's just different body types, but some people can probably thrash it in the weight room with like heavy loads of CrossFit and powerlifting, which I love that style, powerlifting stuff, and jiu-jitsu. It's just a lot on your body, though.
I agree with that.
So that's my personal thing, is just focus on general strength. And I like to do a lot of, JP and I share this same philosophy. We don't use like any belts or anything. So we both like to do a lot of, for us, we would call it heavy. Other guys, powerlifters would maybe laugh, but heavy, back squats, deep squats and things like deadlifts. And I'd like to do a lot of heavy bent over barbell rows. These things really add a lot of core strength and a lot of low back strength, which translate really well into jiu-jitsu, having a really good base and balance.
Yes.
So some of these unassisted, not using belts and bands and straps. And there's times and places for those in the workout room, but that's my opinion. And then of course you need some cardio, and you got to be flexible, which is one of the things I could continue to work on a lot too. But stretching,
yeah,
you know,
which I don't do enough of. But yeah, I agree. When I got my garage gym, Steven wrote me a work or copied his, and I lifted like that for a long time, and I think it translated well. Recently, I'm doing a program that Justin, our other friend, wrote for me, and it's similar in how it focuses on different groups, but there's a lot more mobility work put in there, which I hate doing. But that has helped me a lot.
Yep.
That's one thing. So like if I was on a chest day, like it would just flat bench would kill my shoulders, and then that would translate to jiu-jitsu. So adding that mobility in with that has also helped me a lot too. So that's the only thing. I agree with Steven, and then add some. I mean, it seems like it's nothing to do some of this mobility stuff with like a rod or a band over the door, but it's game changing for me for sure. So
I agree
Yes.
with that. I agree with all the workouts, and I do a lot of that stuff. But then there's some things that I pepper in that are more like explosive athlete stuff. Like I can't full on sprint with a sled anymore, like things like that. But I do push sleds slow but heavy sleds, or pull them backwards, like, and I work on that. But posterior chain stuff like flipping a tire, I haven't gotten to flip a tire since I was at Justin, that Fieldhouse Fitness place, because the gym I'm at doesn't have that anymore. But like I used to flip a really heavy big tire, and I would just do it like very focused and try to get
like a 600-pound tire.
Yeah,
the
and-
big boy.
yeah, and I try to get like
Stupid.
six to 10 reps.
I
and
would
then-
work out at that gym.
Yeah.
It was a second gym for me.
Yeah.
And so I would go, it was real close to my house, so I would go there like late at night if my wife was like editing some videos or something, and just get in a little something extra. And I would always see your videos, and the tire was always where you left it.
Like just
Nobody
no
else
one
was
touched it.
nobody else was moving that thing.
Seriously, there was very few people that moved that tire other than me.
Yeah. Well, I remember like working my way up because there was another one that was smaller. It was still really heavy because it was more dense, like thicker. But that one, yeah, nobody really touched that one. But I got used to flipping that one, and I found it actually did. I felt better in jiu-jitsu. I mean, think about how often you're doing something like when you're like curled up and then you're uncurling.
Extending, yeah.
So that posterior chain, that explosion in strength helps you
Kind
out
of,
a lot.
it's the general deadlift movement.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But
How
this
many
was
times
a little more
too-
dynamic. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
How many times too are we like on, especially when you're getting started out, when you're on the ground, and that deadlift movement
Yeah.
is like the saving grace of creating the space.
Yep.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Another thing that I found that, well, it was more for me personally. It's not like a broad jiu-jitsu thing, although it might be helpful to a lot of jiu-jitsu guys. Honestly, we need to ask this question to Aaron Archer, I would say.
Right.
But
He's gonna say mobility too.
But I kind of like overdeveloped my pushing muscles because playing football, and and you're just like bench and forward, everything's forward, strong triceps. Like there wasn't a whole lot of pulling motion because I played defensive tackle, and it was a lot more about pushing. But I learned later that I just hadn't really developed my back as much as I did the front. So over the past few years, I've really focused on doing a lot more pulling stuff. And I found in jiu-jitsu, you're doing way more pulling than you are pushing.
Yeah.
There are moments where you're pushing, but a lot of it is pulling. A lot of guard is pulling.
Yeah.
Lasso,
I agree with
collars, all that stuff. So that's helped me out, and it also has helped my grip too. And every time you do a pulling motion, you have an opportunity to practice your grip strength. Like you can put a towel instead of, or like I have these cool David. My jiu-jitsu coach got me these.
Orangutan?
Yeah, they're these jiu-jitsu gi sleeves that have a carabiner on the backside.
Oh,
So you
really?
literally put them on any cable machine and use the gi
Use
sleeves
the
like you're
gi to
grabbing.
grip
Yeah, you
cat
hold them
paw
like
or
that.
whatever.
Yes. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'll bring them around sometime. There's also an elastic band you can use. You can put them on your foot.
So I
and
think
pull.
there's one that Origin used to make way back in the day called the orangutan, hanger. It was something like
makes
that,
sense.
where it's like made for pull-ups and stuff. but
maybe
it's,
it is that one. I
It might
don't
be,
know the
yeah.
brand of it.
Yeah.
He just got it from me as a gift, and
I
it's
remember
been
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Old school.
Yeah, old school. I think everything, I think you can't go wrong if you're working on your general strength. If we're talking about the weight room, if you're talking about your general strength and you're making sure you're not hurting your body. See, like what Isaac described is getting really chest heavy, which is a lot of young guys in the gym do because all they want to do is go in and bench press. What creates huge shoulder problems. So you're really lucky that you have healthy shoulders, actually.
They're probably not healthy, but yes.
By saying probably, they are healthy compared, you know what I mean?
Yes, right. I don't have like major shoulder issues.
Compared to the 40-year-old at this end of the table.
General basic thought, when you have your chest really overdeveloped, it's pulling those shoulders forward, and you don't have your back muscles pulling your shoulders back to equal that out. So that's why I say like a really just well-rounded routine, whatever you're doing.
I don't like them, but pull-ups, man, pull-ups have been a huge blessing to jiu-jitsu for me, and I've gotten better at being able to do them because they're not easy for people that are north of 220 maybe. Yeah, but
200.
But like if you keep practicing it over and over again, you just get better at it. And
I've gotten good at pull-ups. There was a turning point for me. Man, maybe 2019 or 2020. JP and I were working out in his garage one night and went over there. We were both tired. We cracked a Jocko Fuel. We were just tired. And I was like, let's just do back. Let's do something simple. He's like, okay. Pull-ups for like an hour and a half. And I was like, He's like, no, pull-ups. So we just did pull-ups for an hour and a half. I was 275 at the time, 272, which sucked. And I couldn't do pull-ups really.
Yeah.
And, but dude, I could do like 2 or 3 or whatever, but then we were just every other. So it got to where it's just doing one. And at that point though, like I just committed to pull-ups and now I'm pretty good at them.
Yeah.
I got good for a while and then stopped, and JP is who brought him back. We went over there to work out once, and then I went over a couple other guys with the Milestone guys, and we kept doing EMOMs, but randomly there was pull-ups in every one of them. And I realized like, oh, you're not good at these anymore. So it's a start over thing. I've been doing some more dead hangs to get used to it, but it was the same. Like the beginning of the workout, I could get 5 or 6, and then the next time through, it was like struggling on 4, and then by the end of the workout, like an hour in, it's like one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Sets of 4 is usually
it's demoralizing too when you're like 6, you used to could do it and now it's like 5 and I'm dying.
Yeah,
it's like,
totally. Yeah. I think too. Isaac and I were actually talking about this. I'm pretty sure I'm not. Yeah, it was us talking about using strength in jiu-jitsu, but using it inside a technique, and that's always been my thought, my philosophy. You're even better at it than me. You're just more advanced, but not leading with your strength necessarily. Doesn't mean you're not going to utilize strength for like really good, powerful grips and trying to get to a position, but getting to a position and then exploding through the technique.
Right.
So saving that explosion and that strength for the technique so that you're utilizing it properly and you're not just muscling yourself around and wearing yourself out.
Strength, any attribute that you have, strength or speed, it should be an exclamation point on the jiu-jitsu. So the jiu-jitsu is it's the word, and then the technique is the word, and then your strength is an exclamation point on the end. So it's like
regulated.
Yeah, it's just done with that.
Both of you guys are good at that. Steven, I mean,
yep.
We trained often.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why it was easy as a purple belt, like you were still a white belt, for him to be one of my main training partners, which you would think, well, he's even bigger than me and he's a white belt. But like he already knew that too at the time. It was always easy to train because he was never. I mean, you could tell when he was using it, but he would, even as a white belt, you would do that. And you're the same. I didn't know you was a white belt, but
I will say though, and this is not, no one asked for this, but it is a pet peeve of mine when people, especially smaller guys, when they chalk everything up to someone that's bigger than them, to their strength or their weight. Yes, there's a fair amount of that happens, and I hate that for smaller guys that are very technical and are, they're playing the game, and the big guys they're just. I don't like that, and I'll beat those guys up too because I don't like those guys. But like when you execute great technique and you're smooth and you're not using your strength and stuff. I hate that cop out when people are like, "Oh man, you're just so strong." It's like, yeah, well, I mean, I didn't use much of it this role, so
I can show you.
But at the same time, bro, those guys will take every opportunity to use their speed
and
every
strength.
opportunity.
You think they're not using their max strength every time they're like doing stuff with you?
But so it's funny because it's like, I wish you didn't use all your strength. Well, it's like, okay, I wish you didn't use all your speed. Like if you're a lot smaller, you should be quicker,
right? Yeah.
But that's also a thing if you're big and athletic and you're also quick.
Yeah, that's annoying.
People get annoyed with that.
Yeah.
it's funny.
Also, if you're in a fight,
that what I was about to say is even to the guy that you just described that you hate, of just like the big guy, she's like mashing, like, bro, you are training a combat sport,
right? Figure it out.
You're in jiu-jitsu. You don't get to pick who you end up in a street fight with,
right?
True.
So figure it out.
If you get, that's one of the things I love about jiu-jitsu because I'm really good at controlling my emotions when it comes to physical altercations. I've avoided all major fights in my life because of that.
Must be nice,
right? I've had a few, some scraps and stuff, but nothing like I've avoided. There's 1,000 opportunities I could have gotten into
but
something.
you keep yourself in check.
Yeah, because I also know, like, hey, I know I carry a gun. I know I carry a knife. Like that guy's probably carrying a gun,
right?
And I was blessed with the God-given ability to just reason with myself and not
chill yourself out.
Yeah, but in jiu-jitsu, like what I love about the practicality of it is the likelihood if I end up in an altercation, like I'm probably on my back trying to like figure out what just happened. Right? Some dude just freaking blindsides you. Not, you know what I mean? And like you're on.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect opportunity is what I'm saying. Even for someone like me, like, okay, some big dude is on top of you, mashing you. Let's see if your jiu-jitsu works.
Right.
Does it work?
Figure it out.
Test it out.
And where that's proven, I'm maybe not as strong as these two, but I'm not weak. And there's got Chaz, for example. That guy can sweep me any way he wants.
But he's small compared to you.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's smaller than my 14-year-old.
Yeah,
yeah.
But he feels like he's a lot heavier.
But
his technique is great.
And I can grab onto him, and if I wanted to just Hulk him out, guess what? He's going to flip me off of him.
Yep.
So figure it out.
So I've got one period behind this whole sentence, and we'll move on to the next question.
Check.
I'm going to blend what multiple of us said, and I know I'm saying this on behalf of our brother JP, but you can take a little bit of everything we've talked about and put an EMOM to it.
Yeah.
So if you have access,
I learned from him, man.
Yeah, if you have access to, and even if you don't, even if you're in a big corporate gym like a 24-hour fitness or something, you can still do this. Yeah. But so EMOM is it's kind of a CrossFit thing. Every minute on the minute is the acronym. So you just set a timer and you pick a set of lifts, like 3, 4, 5 lifts maybe, and you start. So I'll give you an example real quick. And by the way, where I'm saying this, JP and our buddy Dane and we did this all through 2020 together because like for the first time he wasn't traveling as much, and I was in the best shape of my life then, and so we would pick mostly bodybuilding exercise. So we'd do like some form of a bench press, some form of a squat, maybe a deadlift, bent over barbell row, side raises, bicep curls, all the cool bodybuilding lifts. But we'd piece it together. Okay, we're going to focus on chest and back today. We're going to focus on chest and legs. And then you would EMOM in. You'd pick a few other things like lighter things like push-ups or a banded fly or a curl or burpees. Like do this or sprint down and touch that stop sign and come back or a farmer's carry. Like so we'd pick 3 to 6 exercises. And sometimes the way we'd do it as a group, like, okay, I'm going to pick 2 or 3 things, you pick 2 or 3 things, but let's make it focused around this. And let's have a blend of a little bit of cardio, a little bit of core, and then the main muscle group we want to work. So now let's say you've got a bench press, a sit-ups, so it's like 20 sit-ups, a sprint down and touch that sign and come back, a push-ups, and some burpees. Yeah. And it's every minute on the minute. And so you've got your set number. So the timer starts, boom, you hit your 15 reps of bench press, 10 reps of bench press, whatever you determine. You get to rest for the next few seconds until the next minute starts, boom. Now you're doing your sit-ups. Then you get to quick rest until the minute ends. So you're getting these little minute rests. So you're getting your strength work with a pushed cardio. And maybe that first round going through it, you're like, okay, I got this. But that second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round of that EMOM, when you're 25 minutes in and you've gotten no real breaks, it starts to simulate the cardio hit of jiu-jitsu.
It's absolutely
That's
true.
Spot on.
I definitely noticed that, especially the feeling that you get between, like, let's say your 4th and 5th or 5th and 6th round, if you're going back to back, because it's at that point, especially if you've had to push it, you're like
you're in gut check mode already.
Yeah, you're getting a little side cramp. You're just getting like, man, I would love to sit out right now.
Yeah.
You get that feeling at your like 5th round of EMOM, and you're just like, oh, I gotta do this all over again. Yeah.
My encouragement, if you do that, it's a great way to blend strength. And like if you're like, dude, I've got like 30, 45 minutes a day I can do.
That's the best part.
And what we did in 2020 was we would do 2 EMOMs. So we would do a 25 to 30 minute EMOM. So we'd pick like 4 to 5 lifts, and we do this for 25 to 30 minutes. 35 minutes sometimes, and we would then take a 10-minute break while we reset the gym, put the equipment up, pull out the next equipment, and then we would do another 5 or 6, 7 lifts for another 30, 35 minutes, you know? And so we were drinking a second Jocko Fuel in between those two.
But still, it's only an hour and a half.
Right. No, you're good to go. But with this, what I would encourage you, if you're going to do it, make sure to get some good compound, heavier movements in there, like your bench press, your deadlift, your squats, you know, your bigger movements. Make sure you incorporate that in there. And when you get to that part of the EMOM, take 3 seconds to take a deep breath. Make sure your form is on point and execute that lift with good, proper, slow form. You know what I mean? Don't be so worked up that you're sloppy and you get yourself hurt. But to make sure you're really incorporating those strength movements in that style workout. But I think that's a really beautiful blend of strength training and jiu-jitsu training.
Agree.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga it is.
All right, so let's go to a little biblical one. You all ready?
Ready?
Let's
All right.
do it. My
What
favorite.
scriptures, and so I think we just rapid fire these as we go to them. What scriptures do you lean on when you're going through hard times on and off the mats?
There's a million of them. Joshua 1:9, which is, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
I've got a couple.
Yeah.
We talked about this a couple episodes ago, but it's 2 Timothy 2:4. Soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. And athletes cannot win the prize unless they follow the rules. And it goes on. It's a really good, this is in 2 Timothy. But for me, what this scripture reminds me to do is to detach from the drama of life, right? And to focus on kingdom-minded things. So soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. And so I think when I'm going through hard times, I just remember this is just the reminder that, hey, there's kingdom things to be focused on, and that while what I'm going through is probably a, you know, physical, earthly, worldly, civilian type issue, and it is real, to just help me, remind me to set my eyes on that kingdom purpose, that kingdom calling, because that's how I please the Lord.
It's good. I love Hebrews 12:11. For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Which is good, because if you see those difficulties as God leading you through a time to make you better, to refine you, it's discipline, then you will know, you know that it will yield the fruit of righteousness. So it's you can endure because you know that, number one, God's with you, and then number two, that it's producing something in you, character, righteousness, humility, whatever he wants to teach you through that season.
My
Does
turn.
thou have one, Josh?
Thou.
Thou has one.
Okay.
I doth. D-O-T-H, doth. Psalm 56. What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. In God I will praise his word. In God I have put my trust. I will not fear what flesh can do unto me.
Let's go.
Yeah, what is that
King
verse?
David sharing that, right?
That's right. 56, 3
All right,
and
so-
4.
If God is for us, who can be against us? What is that
Oh,
verse?
yeah.
It was supposed to be one of my weekly memorization verses that I'm working on with Kim, which I'm behind on. I'm just admitting that to you guys right now.
Romans 8:31.
Romans 8:31. That was the first one of week 1.
I didn't know that.
January.
It was the Bible app, just so you know.
Oh, I have it written here in my memory verses. But,
Read it to us.
Romans 8:31. What then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?
So I've got another one from Romans I'm going to pull up, and it's actually Romans 8. But first, I shared this one a few weeks ago, and it's just so good for me because you're talking about going through hard times. He said on or off the mats. This would be an off the mat deal, but if your enemies are hungry, give them food to eat. If they're thirsty, give them water to drink. You will heap burning coals of shame on their heads, and the Lord will reward you. So for me, this helps me and reminds me and guides me in how to act when I'm going through hard times, because here's a set of rules and proverbs that he's laying out of when it's tough, because a lot of times these tough things we go through deal with other people, and sometimes it's people coming against us in certain ways, directly, indirectly, rejection, offense, abandonment, all these different ways. Here's a reminder. Here's how you're supposed to act. If your enemy's hungry, give them food to eat. If they're thirsty, give them water to drink. You'll heap burning coals of shame on their heads, and the Lord will reward you. And I can tell you the times when I've been going through hard times and I've followed this, it's like, the only way I can say it, it's like heaven's winds are at my back and in my sail now. Instead of the opposition that I had. It's amazing. It's like you actually take a scripture and you be about it, right? You apply it to your life. It's amazing how stuff starts to work out. And maybe it's not the way we would picture it works out, but the Lord starts to work it out in our life. It's almost like he gave us this guidebook to help us.
James 1:19 goes with that. Be quick to listen, or be quick to listen. Sorry, be slow to anger and slow to speak. Be quick to listen, slow to anger, and slow to speak, for anger does not produce the righteousness that God requires. Lucas?
He's shaking his head, yes.
James 1:19. That's my wife's favorite verse, and it's funny. As I fall more in love with her over the years and learn more about her over the years, it's funny that that's her favorite verse about anger, as she deals more with me.
Sorry, Kim.
When you get angry, just yawn. It will reset your nervous system.
I did see that.
It will reset your nervous system. By the way, if you have recently listened to episode 050, the first part of this Q&A, Lanny Bassam's a stud.
Oh, yeah.
He's a stud.
That's right.
My niece used that technique to go from never playing golf to getting a full ride D1 scholarship.
Oh, that's incredible.
Using the system that's in that book that Lucas described. So I know firsthand a girl that was not athletic, they got a full ride D1 scholarship to be athletic from using that method that Lucas described. So
that's awesome.
It would have been fun to be on that episode and add that in as you shared that, Lucas. So here's another verse that if y'all listen to Troy's episode a few weeks back, one of the founders of Pursuit and Walking in Truth Ministries, he shared this one. And this is a part of it. Like, when you hear these scriptures that people around you are sharing, or the Lord highlights to you and starts to show you, like Lucas, when Lucas shared out of Philippians, ever since he shared that verse on that episode we did, I've been diving through Philippians, but really looking at that he's going to finish the work that he starts in us, right? So like when I see someone that I respect, or the Holy Spirit highlights something, and so if someone I respect shares a verse, or the Holy Spirit highlights a verse, I try to meditate on it and revisit it and make it part. So like when you said this verse popped in my head, which it's one that means a lot to Troy, Romans 8:18. Yet what we suffer now is nothing compared to the glory he will reveal to us later. Right? So yet what we suffer now is nothing compared to the glory. So it's going to be worth it. Right? That's what the Lord's telling us, is it's going to be worth it.
I sent you, there was a big list of questions that I don't know if you got. I also send those to you too if you want to read some of those.
Yeah, I'll check this out.
Yep.
What, any other scriptures while we're rapid firing these? Because I'm hoping that people will jot these down and
check them out throughout there.
We've shared it before, but Romans 8:6, a mindset on the flesh is death, but a mindset on the spirit is life and peace. So, I mean, if there is an actionable item for you there, it's to pray that God would help you to set your mind on the things of the Spirit, and that will help you to, live in the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. That's awesome. I want my life to show that, and I also just want to be able to live in peace, But yeah, setting your mind on the Spirit is...
I like, I was already in Romans 8, the NLT is cool wording. So letting your sinful nature control your mind leads to death, but letting the Spirit control your mind leads to life and peace.
Yes. Beautiful.
You know what I've really discovered? We talk a lot at Pursuit about taking every thought captive and just really, really working on your thought life and just truly doing what that verse talks, taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. So, okay, Lord, is this a thought from you? Is this something from the enemy, kind of a thing? I feel like I've recently discovered a lot. Do y'all ever play scenarios out in your head?
A lot.
all the time.
Like, what if this person says that? Well, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I think I've just uncovered. Maybe I don't know if it's just this season of my life right now with some of the stuff that's going on, or if it's always. But like these scenarios I play out in my head, I'm like, dude, you know, it's not really a Christ-like response I'm giving in these scenarios of, you know, almost fantasizing about, well, I'd hit him in the face.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I'd do that. I'm like, dude, I think the enemy tries to attack me through my thoughts
Yep. Absolutely.
with scenarios.
Yo, absolutely.
You know, but if you
Dude,
that's kind of a flank, because you're like, well, I want to be prepared. Like, okay, well, yeah, if he says this, I'm gonna do that. Or if she says this, I'm gonna do that. And I'm like, that is literally the enemy setting me up, like plotting and making. You know, I'm starting to plot and twist.
Yeah.
You know?
You're right.
You start taking those thoughts captive. I'm like, dude, these are not healthy.
I shouldn't be thinking this way.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Ooh, you're sharing a note with me, Isaac?
Yeah, it just has a ton of screenshots from the page, and
So, did y'all do
Lucas
any of
read
these
some-
last time?
He read some of them. Lucas,
Okay.
how far did you scroll down on that? Do you remember?
So it's loading right now. So let me look at the responses. I'm almost done with the responses from the little video I've put out today.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I'm missing one. Okay, this one's really hard to read the way he sent it in because it's a photo. But here, oh, nope, I can zoom in. Here we go. Purple Belch here.
Yeah.
Purple Belch.
Belch. Wondering how often do y'all take breaks from rolling? I'm an old airborne dude and just sometimes feel too beat up to roll. So I'll alternate weeks, sometimes 3 to 4 times a week with some kickboxing, sometimes 2 times a week. Thoughts on that? Much love. Thank you.
Awesome.
And this is Mike from God, Guns, and Family podcast.
I like
Cool.
them
I'm gonna
already.
check that out. Thanks, Mike.
You got something?
Man, it sounds like you're on the right track. It sounds like your mind is in the right place, because you got to listen to your body. And a lot of times we don't, especially as knuckle draggers, and it's like, we'll just push through, you know, we just got to train hard and do hard things. But, you know,
Yeah.
you should use your brain.
But hold on. There's a whole group of people that just took an excuse. And if you just got really excited when Josh said that, you need to go train harder and push past the pain.
Correct.
True, but
You're not listening to what I'm saying.
If you're a certain kind of person, though, that actually has the opposite problem where you need to learn to throttle it.
And I think
back.
this guy shared that by saying I'm an old airborne guy.
Well, also in saying, does he cycle off rolls sometimes, he mentions he's not doing nothing.
No,
He's going to do kickboxing
Yep.
and, you know, whatever else. So if that's the case, what I'm picking up from what he's putting down, it sounds like he's on the right track.
Yeah.
You can go get the technique. You can always get people to flow roll with you too.
Yep.
Like if you're in a good
I was about to
school,
say,
you can get some movement in there and
Absolutely.
still get some technique.
And with that, I think you could say, you know, you could be like, hey, today I can only roll with these guys.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to turn down, like, so if that 22-year-old dude that's on the juice
Wants to get that
that's
that airborne.
you know, D1 wrestler type,
Yeah.
and he's like, hey man, no, not today, bro.
Dude,
you got to
if
be able to tell him
if
no.
you have a good coach, you should be able to talk to your coach and be like, hey, I'm super beat up today. Could you just help me a little bit with my rolls? That's all you have to say to your coach typically. And they're like, yeah, no problem. I'm going to pair you up with people.
Yeah.
It'd be a good match for you right now.
Especially when you have the reputation of someone that's doing the hard stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And
By the way,
and then,
Jocko, one of the I'm gonna just share a little ego, and then I think one of these things talks about that, so I'll have to, you know, repent in a second. But Jocko was doing his intro to Jiu-Jitsu after one of the FTXs that I was at, and he was describing, like, that guy just said, like, look, you don't want to get the young, like, meathead dude that's gonna freaking rip your arm off, and he pointed to me. He's like you don't like you. This is not the guy you would train with, and I was like,
I was sitting next to you, and I go, well, I've got the wrong training partner.
right? It did things for my ego. I'm still thinking about it.
I know that. I feel the same.
Because Isaac's the one where Jocko said, this is why we train firearms, because of you. And I use that.
He is
frequently.
hilarious, man. I didn't know how funny he was. Because, I mean, yeah, he would jiu-jitsu me. He wouldn't need to shoot me, but that's a funny thing.
Okay, you ready for the next one? How do I keep myself? This is a good one. Luke is prepared to weigh in if we stumble over here. How do I keep myself from or recognize when I'm working for my own glory and not to glorify God,
Oh,
especially in jiu-jitsu. So that was a really interesting to me. I wasn't ready for that ending, especially in jiu-jitsu, because I can relate that more to regular life.
same.
I would say though that especially in jiu-jitsu is if just simply like if you're doing things to feed your own ego and not to better your game and to better your training partner's game, that's how you know you're not glorifying the Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the simplest,
Well, and
rawest.
that mindset, this is where the Jesus part and the jiu-jitsu part line up very well. That mindset doesn't work
Yeah.
with jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know there's people like that out there, but we know those people. Like,
Yep.
if you know those people, those aren't good training partners. Those aren't people you like want to roll with.
Right.
You're not the guy, man.
Yeah. You're not that guy, pal.
And I don't mean that about this guy in particular. But yeah, absolutely.
You're not that guy. You're not that guy.
But yeah, like it doesn't add up. Like,
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu weeds that out, or it should, just like Jesus should weed that out. You got to do like a heart search on that.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Your intent behind it is what
right
decides
to
that.
push in. So how do I recognize when I'm working for my own glory and not to glorify God?
It's a good question because it's more complex than you think because there's jiu-jitsu is self-defense, but beyond that, for almost all of us, it's a sport as well.
Right.
And so the objective of a sport is to win. So you're doing things constantly to win.
And the objective of self-defense is to win.
It's
Is
to also
win. Yeah,
win, yeah.
of course. I'm saying, but like you're when you get into sport jiu-jitsu, it's like it's a little flashier. It's like there's other stuff going on, but the object is to win a competition or
Right.
to win to save your life.
JP does a good job of what you're describing, and a lot of times he'll ask me when we train. He did this like last Monday. Hey, is there anything you're working on? Mm-hmm. Meaning he's sitting there. He's simply saying like, "Hey, I'm here to be a good training partner. Do you want to work on anything? Is there a certain position you want to start from?"
Yeah.
Some days I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. Actually, I'm practicing knee shield. Some days I'm like, yeah, beating someone up.
Right.
That's
Avoiding
what I'm
your
working on.
JP gift wrap.
Yeah, not with JP. I'm just saying like in general. Someone
Yeah.
because people do ask like, you want to work on anything? Sometimes I think okay.
Yes.
We
No,
know
I know
JP.
what you're about to
We
say.
know JP. He's not doing it for this reason, but there are people who are trying to avoid a hard roll by doing
Correct.
that.
And
Hey,
working
hey,
on
Isaac,
anything?
do you happen to be working on someone starting in mount on you?
Yeah, exactly. Are you working on anything? Anything that maybe we could start on?
Face
yeah, let's
down.
just start standing, and I'm probably going to try to throw you on your head.
yeah.
But if it's someone who's genuinely like I know I have a relationship with, and they're like, yeah, where do you want to start? Sometimes it's like, no, just whatever. Or there is a position
Yeah.
I need to start in. So yeah,
That's
it's
a
good
great
posture.
That's a great way to approach it.
And you can hit that stuff after class too.
Yes,
Right. So, hey, Isaac, I know you got a tournament coming up, or hey,
Yes.
do you need,
Yep.
is there anything you need to work on?
that's a great attitude to have. But as far as recognizing it in yourself, I think it's like
Well, part of it, just be honest with yourself.
Yes,
Like you
you know.
most of the time you kind of know
Yep.
what mode you're operating
Yeah.
in, and if it creeps in,
Yeah.
Just the
you're,
fact
you're
that
gonna pick up on it. And
just
you're
the
like,
fact
why am I
that
doing this?
he's asking this question, you'd assume.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's already thinking
Yep.
about it, so he knows.
You
So,
ever
smart guy.
observe yourself thinking something? You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like you're thinking, you're in line of thinking, you're like, oh, dude, look at what you were the path you were just going down. That's a dangerous path. Don't go there.
Yeah.
So you can observe yourself thinking about the glory that you're going to have by doing something or by beating somebody or, whatever.
And the truth is, that's fake glory.
It
anyway,
is, but
'cause-
Unless it's Jocko talking about you. Joking. Lucas,
It must be nice.
it must be nice.
Lucas, anything on this? Recognizing when you're working for your own glory and not to glorify God?
Of course he has something.
Yeah,
That's why I asked.
Is jiu-jitsu becoming an idol, right?
Oh.
Like that was one of the big things for me whenever
Is jiu-jitsu becoming an idol?
competition for me is easy for me to idolize. I will focus more on whatever it is that is making me filling that void competitively
Right.
than I will on the Lord. If it is becoming your idol, then it is for your own glory. Period.
It's great.
That's good.
Super good. And again, that goes back to the heart of part of the emphasis we try to use with Jesus and jiu-jitsu. We've talked about that a lot. Because a lot of people, so I'm assuming, hoping y'all could hear, but Lucas said when, jiu-jitsu becomes your idol, then, it's out of whack and you're doing it for your own glory, not to glorify God.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, we've talked about this a lot. Jiu-Jitsu is a stress reliever. It helps people with depression and anxiety. It helps with community, and it helps us work through our problems. It does so much good. It helps us get our confidence back if that's been stolen from us. It helps us work through physical traumas if we've had those. So there's so much good that comes from jiu-jitsu, gives us our health back. But in that, people want to replace God with jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why, just little things like our logo, the font's bigger in Jesus than it is in jiu-jitsu. There's a line between the two establishing that Jesus is over jiu-jitsu and that jiu-jitsu is not the answer to all these things. But when brought into proper alignment with Jesus and jiu-jitsu, it can be a fantastic tool to utilize.
Right.
Here's another addition along the same lines of exactly what Steve was talking about with the logo. Having that attitude, you can do this very easily by how you conduct yourself after training.
Yep.
Between rounds or after training, after class is over, when you're spending time with people, that's when you have the opportunity to make it about other people, to make it about their life, to make it about ways that you can support or love other people.
Right.
Hey, that is the perfect transition to the next question.
Oh.
What are some good ways I can witness to people about Jesus that I train with? This is Chad Braswell.
Yes.
Chad, while you're choking them unconscious, you need to just start whispering in there.
Repent.
You will repent.
No, I think the best way is
typically in the crucifix position.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
I think the best way is to not do it right away. Once you establish rapport and a relationship with someone by rolling with them, sweating with them, bleeding with them, once you have that established relationship, it naturally comes up. I mean,
Correct.
Almost every time you roll after class, you're just like, man, so what do you do for a living? Oh, I do XYZ, I mean, it's a great opportunity for you to say, yeah, man, I just there's things I spend time with my family because that's what I care about. I spend time at my church because that's something I care about. I spend time reading the Bible because it's the Word of God and it's important to me.
Be honest.
Yeah, but I'm saying that there's a really easy way that you just now told them what you're all about. Here's what I'm about, and then they have an opportunity to respond to that. I say, that's cool, man.
Well, and it's always going to be the proper order when you have some type, because this is someone you are rolling with.
Yep.
You're going to be seeing them a lot.
Yeah.
Building that relationship. They're going to know you actually care when you start saying that rather than just.
Yep.
And I think too, so this is part of the power of Jesus and jiu-jitsu, and it has to do, or it's why the Lord showed it to us, but what you guys both just described is jiu-jitsu breaks down those walls.
Yep.
So like when we're at work with someone, or even when we go to church with someone, we have these walls because there's a lack of realness. But when you're trying to choke the crap out of me and I'm trying to break your arm,
Right.
all fakeness, you see past all the bull crap.
Yep.
Right.
Because you're exhausted and you're sweating. And when you're exhausted and someone's pushing on you, and that's when the true colors come out.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, no matter what really comes out, as long as you're not a complete jerk,
Which you shouldn't be.
right? All of a sudden, it's like, okay, I trust this guy, right? I trust this guy more than I trust most people. And this is the power of Jesus and jiu-jitsu, is we trust our training partners. I've said this. There's guys that I train jiu-jitsu with that I'm friends with that I would never be friends with in any other circumstance, because we don't see the same on anything. But you know what? We battle on the mats together, we push each other, and we respect each other on the mats. Therefore, we have a great relationship.
Yeah.
And so it's even as simple. So I'm just piggybacking on everything y'all both said. And I would even say another tactic is being directive. Like, hey, Isaac, man, you feel a little heavy to me today compared to normal bros. Can I pray for you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have something going on?
I did that exact thing after training. The other day.
Yeah.
With a guy that you would, after I'll tell you later, but I think he'd be like, oh, yeah, wow, I didn't know you would respond that way, which is cool. But exactly discerning that. Yeah, asking people if you could pray for them is a really easy way to break down some of those walls and let them know what you're about.
Here's a good line my wife used, and I'm just like, dude, she's so gangster. So she felt this lady at Target. She actually heard this. This wasn't her original idea, but she used it. So this lady was like, my wife's like, hey, can I, same thing, kind of like, but she just met her randomly. She just felt really prompted to pray for this lady, and she's like, oh no, like I'm okay. She's like, oh okay, I understand. It can be awkward, like we just met, and for me to pray for you in the store. But here's the thing, I'm a praying person, and I am gonna be praying for you when I leave. So do you want to tell me what I should pray for?
Yeah, that's
like,
yep.
And they're like, oh yeah, okay, do this. It's like,
and it takes the pressure off because they're like, well, yeah, I mean, it would just be weird right now, but thank you for praying for me later. That's awesome.
yeah, that's a good little tactic.
Right.
So
And my thoughts are, here for you.
Yeah. And being a sales guy, I'm always trying to overcome the objection before they get here. We were talking about that the other day.
Yep.
So it's like, the worst thing you're gonna say is like, no. Be like, okay, well look, I do pray, and I'm gonna pray for you when I get home. So if you can direct that, it'd be awesome. If not, I'm just gonna cover you up. But I think that's
solid.
And I think too, it's what you guys always champion, which we have the stickers now, but it's be about it. I mean, when these guys see you being about it,
right?
That's how you witness to people.
Right. Oh, yeah. Can you show them that sticker? Do you have one?
I don't have one.
Mine's on my cooler.
I don't have one.
Oh, it's coming in hot.
Stickers.
Coming in hot.
We got some new. We got some new.
Are we
stickers.
selling these? Or are these just for personal use?
We'll sell them at the.
They'll be for sale at the event.
At the event, we don't have a ton of them, but be about it.
If you ask us to mail you one of these 50-cent stickers, we're gonna fight you.
Well, they'll be $5 stickers to help the ministry, but
No, I'm just joking. Like,
Right.
like the rash guards.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to. No, these are cool. We're gonna have them. We will have them for sale once everything goes live.
Can I have one of those? Can I have one?
You don't
you
have
don't
one
have
yet?
I don't have one.
You're not in the club, bro.
I don't have one. You know what?
Josh is unfolding
Oh,
a T-shirt
no.
very slowly
know what?
that he
Danny
got.
Wells.
And the shirt says,
It must be
nice."
Must be nice to have one of those stickers. That's something I said.
Be about it.
Be
So-
about it.
Yeah.
So
So
don't take credit for that.
Check
Don't
it.
take full credit for that.
be
okay?
about it. James 1:22. Be doers of the word and not just hearers only. Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. But I think that's the answer. Is you just got to be about it, and that is the best way
Yeah.
to minister to those guys you train with. Be a little bit different. Just figure out. We're called to be set apart. So, all right, moving on to the next question. Gabrielle? How do you say that? Which one is that? Gabriella or Gabrielle? Gabrielle. I'm sorry, Gabrielle. So, what are your thoughts on women training jiu-jitsu? I'm training at a very male-dominated gym, and I'm finding it to feel a bit isolating, especially when I'm routinely the only woman in class.
Yeah, that's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Definitely should train.
Yes.
I'm not a woman, but I would understand that. Like, it's going to be hard if there's not other women around. So you're going to have to feel comfortable with these men. But hopefully it's a positive environment, and it's only going to make you better.
I agree.
If you come to that comfortable relationship to be able to roll with those men. But
If you have a relationship with your coach where you can do this, which you should, because I would argue that a good, healthy school would allow this, but you need to cross-train. So you need to find
Correct.
other
Excellent
women
point.
in other schools that you can train with, because if your school doesn't have something that you need to get better, you should be able to train other places. And your coach will understand.
And I think, too, so again, there's a dichotomy here, so I'm going to have to correct this after I say it, but maybe, and I don't know the circumstances, maybe there's a really good reason why you're at the gym you're at, and if you have a really good reason, you should stay there. But just because you started jiu-jitsu there doesn't mean that has to be the only
That's
school you
correct,
train
too.
at. So I would encourage you to try to find, if it's available, which it might not be, but if there's a community of women that train consistently. So, for example, I started training at a certain gym. It was a really good gym. I have nothing but good things to say about that gym. But it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And I noticed that the women that trained there, they mostly trained. It was kind of like a social club, and they kind of it was like a little bit of a workout, but it was more like a social club, and they did their own thing compared to the men. Well, then I found our current gym, and there was a natural break in there with like COVID and whatnot, where that gym closed, so I wasn't training, and then I found Double Five, and I'm like, these are my people. This is who I want to be training with, and it's nothing against the people from that other gym. great people. It was just, I found my home personally. I think similar for you, Josh, you weren't at that first gym, but
Right.
The women at this gym, dude, they train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like there's a group of women that flat get after it, and they have a cool little community. They even do like women's classes together, like a once a week kind of thing that they break off and they do. And that's a cross training situation where different women from different gyms come together to train. So, you know, again, you also don't want to be that nomad that just jumps from school to school to school and doesn't plant roots.
Right.
I'm not advocating for that. What's the word? There's a word for that, right? Like a funny.
Creon.
Yeah, something. Is that a bad word?
Creonte. It's like a trader.
Yeah, like a trader.
Yeah.
Never heard that word.
No, Creonte.
It's-
Creonte.
Something. Yeah, it's.
What it?
But anyways, you don't want to be one of those people. You don't want to be someone that just hops
A
around.
transient.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, maybe there's a school if you're in a big metropolitan area. I would almost encourage you to try to find a school where there's some women that you could that really are getting after it. They're really training hard, and that should be that gap. But I think everything that Isaac and Josh said spot on too is you need to have a coach that will look out for you and make sure that you're comfortable with the training partners that you have.
Yeah.
But we're all for it. Regardless, there is a solution for you to be training, and you should be training. And I mean, hey, there's a lot of women that listen to Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu podcast that train and train hard. So
Come to a live event. Roll with some of the women at the live event.
yeah, I'm not sure where you are if you're in.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Danny Wells came from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
We've had guys come down from Colorado.
Oklahoma.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty easy, Josh. But
Well,
I
yeah, but
mean-
it could be far.
It's not bad.
all right,
Still at home.
here's another good one, and I'm not going to say the name just to not out this person, but she said, if you have a male in your life, like a dad or an uncle, a husband, or a close friend, and you're noticing signs that they may be suffering from depression or anxiety, something along those lines, how can a female help them find help that they may need without betraying competences? And while y'all are processing, I read this question earlier and I read it with my wife. And so we talked about it for a second. So I want to say my stuff while y'all process.
Read it one more time.
Okay. If you have a male in your life, like a dad, uncle, husband, a close friend, and you're noticing signs that they may be suffering from something along the lines of depression or anxiety, how can a female help them find the help that they may need without betraying confidences? First and foremost, pray, pray, pray. Right? You have to be praying for them.
Yep.
And you have to be asking the Holy Spirit for wisdom in this. Because every situation is going to be different. The dynamics are going to be different. Because in some dynamics, you might just want to confront them in love. Right? Just confront
And you
them in
might
love.
have that relationship with them to
Yeah.
where you can.
But I know there's also relationships where that would not go over well.
Yeah.
And so, you're going to know your specific thing. But I think you've got to be warring for them, interceding for them in prayer, and really asking the Holy Spirit for opportunities to get them that help or to have that tough conversation.
Right.
Asking the Holy Spirit to bring the right person into their life, the right opportunity into their life or into your life where you can help, if this is one of those really difficult situations, help aid in that.
I think so. You were talking about it earlier with sales, and you said
You want
refer to it
like
as?
overcome the objection before you have
Yes,
it.
overcome the objective. That's
Objection.
one way.
Objection.
Sorry, overcome
Idiot.
accomplish the objective. Overcome the objection.
Yeah.
So
So when you know that they're going to push back with something, like let's role play that in our head so that we can figure out, already have, not that you're argumentative, but just to hopefully solve that problem before it arises.
yes, so you can say that to them. You can preface it and just say, "Hey, you might just be totally fine, but in the event that you're not doing great, like mentally, and you feel like you're alone, I want you to know you're not alone, and I love you and I care about you. So anything you tell me is going to stay right here. But I'm just telling you this because I know a lot of guys think." I literally said this to a guy today that's like a real estate client of mine. I had coffee with him, and he had gone through a divorce, and so I was like, "Hey, I know we meet and talk about real estate stuff, but I just want you to know, like, that stuff's all kind of just, it's in the grand scheme of life, it's not that important. What is important though is like the stuff that you're going through in your life. So I said, I don't know if you need that, but I'm letting you know I'm one of those people that you can talk to like that. And he was just like, you could tell he was like, oh man, just hearing that was like, oh, wow, thanks, man. Like he didn't tell me, we didn't go into anything. He said maybe another time in another place, which is setting it up for the future. But it is a different dynamic, I think. Because like for a female.
So I was reading
family
into this,
member, like, no, I'm fine.
because my wife responded real quickly
Yeah.
to me in the context of our relationship.
Yeah.
I said, okay, Amanda, like, yes, for you and me, the way you just responded would be accurate. But the way I'm reading this, like female to male, maybe there's a little bit of a dynamic here where the relationship could be like kind of like domineering, or something maybe that pushes the lines of unhealthy like that. Almost even like emotionally abusive or something,
or unavailable, like stoic.
Right.
Like I don't have problems, I don't need help.
And that's why I think maybe this question, if this question was posed under that light, it's a completely different conversation. And that might be why it was said like a female to male.
Right.
Like if a female's asking male, I think an obvious thing would be, I think jiu-jitsu is a great conduit to get that person training, to get that person to start physically. Now, it's not going to necessarily relieve the spiritual.
Right.
We need Jesus and we need the Holy Spirit, but to start physically breaking down some of those walls and some of those barriers, and hopefully getting them in a community with some good people.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to say too. Is everything these guys have said is spot on. I don't think I could really add anything other than, depending on the scenario, getting them with someone that you also trust, and that's a long game. But like steering them to have a relationship with another male friend of yours that maybe would get them into jiu-jitsu or whatever. Maybe they like hunting, or maybe they like foot. It can be anything, but somebody they would be more comfortable opening up with, that you trust, and that is, And
there's nothing wrong with, let me say it, because one of the things she said too is without betraying confidences. I think that's very important. But there's nothing wrong with, for example, if I was really struggling and I wasn't giving the room for my wife to help me in this, if she could easily say something to either one of these guys right here, or Lucas or JP, like, hey, Isaac, can you just check on Steven?
Yes.
Check on your boy.
Will you just make, like, don't say that I told you to do it, but like, I think he just needs a guy to check on him. And hey, Isaac, like, more than just a how are you, like, to really, and I know it might take a process, but like, I don't know. I just think maybe he just needs, and you could just leave it vague. Don't give any. If you feel like there's confidence to be broken, don't give a single detail.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And prayerfully ask the Lord, who's the person and what's the time to implore that, to deploy that.
Going to one of their friends that they trust and just saying, you know them well, I can just tell something's, I don't know, or something seems not right. So talk to them. And I mean, how many times, that's happened to me a bunch of times. A wife of a guy that I know said, hey, can you just check in with him? Because I can't get anything out of him, but whatever.
And here's another thing, and it might not be a quick one. It might be a slow game depending on the relationship, but get him to church.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
If y'all aren't in church, or if you are in church, try to get involved in a small group. Try to get him serving at church, which maybe you probably need to serve too, or, because you can't just tell someone to do something you're not doing, but, really work. And I know sometimes in this, because this is something I'm passionate about, but sometimes it's the woman starts leading the man, in this sometimes, because the men aren't leading spiritually. Right. And like, this was something I experienced personally, in facets and ways and pieces where it's like my wife was wanting more and I was trying to figure out how to do that. And so it's like, you might have to, I'm not encouraging you to do this like out of order, but you might have to be the one to lead of, hey, let's go to church. Hey, I want to go to church. Hey, let's get plugged into church. Hey, let's get in a small group. This is important to me, So that's another one. It's just physically asking and encouraging and trying to get plugged into a healthy church, a healthy small group where they can be around those things, that, because ultimately what's going to help this is the Bible and right relationship with the Lord.
I agree.
Yep.
Spot on. Well said.
Just trying to see if I got all these, if I'm missing anything. Okay. I'm going to jump over to what Isaac sent me. Maybe I have best luck going to the bottom. Man, some of these are lengthy.
You want me to do the one I have real quick
Yeah.
while you're looking? This one was sent to me, and it kind of, it's perfect timing. It kind of ties in to what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But any word of advice on how to approach someone you care about to encourage them to seek a relationship with God after having bad experiences at church and with the people in it?
Yeah, so, man, the thing that I'm not trying to just take the mic time. Do you have something?
No, I actually missed it. Sorry, I was looking at other.
The thing that so ask the question again so he can hear.
Question is, how do you approach someone you care about to encourage them to seek a relationship with God after having a bad experience at church and the people in it?
The thing that jumps out at me, just square off, and man, we deal with this all the time. We're walking guys through this all the time, but you have to figure out how to convey the message that the church and the people in it are not God, and their eternity is still at stake. So the person that let you down, the group that let you down, they're not Jesus.
Right.
Jesus will never let you down. Yeah. Man will, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And, but it's your eternity. Your eternity is at stake. So here's the thing. We cannot let an offense keep you from eternity.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's too big of a deal. And by the way, one of the resources that is so good from this would be, if they'd be willing to read it, is a book by John Bevere called The Bait of Satan. And it's talking about how the enemy uses offense to just destroy us. You can use that offense of someone at a church or a group in a church or this stuff, and a lot of times too, it's so perverted. It's not even as big of a deal as we make it out to be, because the enemy starts amplifying and twisting and building these things. But The Bait of Satan's a really good book. But I think it's the message that this is too big of a deal to mess up just because, and it doesn't take away that that's not a real pain and a real hurt.
Right, because it is real.
And it's unfortunate that happened, but we have to get over. Look, I've heard it said like this before. Most people have had their heart broken at one point or another, but just because you had your heart broken doesn't mean that you never stop. Now, some people have. We see that. But the majority of people move on to find love. They press in. They give it another chance and another chance until they find that person, right? And they end up getting married, most people. And so if you're willing to do it for that, you need to be willing to do it for eternity and for the Lord.
It depends on what, I agree. It depends on what level that hurt was, but it's true. I mean, people are going to let you down, and that sucks. And those people probably sucked.
Most people do.
Yeah, but Stephen's right on that. And there are options out there. You're going to find your group that you align with, and they're going to welcome you with open arms, and you're going to see real. And if you're going somewhere and the people aren't real there, then I get it, man. Like, find one where it's real. And that's hard sometimes.
The person that I want to talk to is really the person that's wants to discount it all together because of the failure of people, and that happens a lot of times. No, I just don't want to be a part of anything that has to do with that. It's just like you've seen a fat personal trainer before, and what that proves is having that. Well, what do we? JP says it too. It's not, knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power.
Correct.
So it's it's not that there was a perfect application of an imperfect truth. It was an imperfect application of a perfect truth.
Correct.
So it was a people that didn't. The thing itself is not. It's absolutely perfect. The Word of God Christian fellowship, that is perfect.
This is what I was talking about, dude. You take these rough thoughts and you make them so pretty.
Yeah, I was gonna say he just
makes them-
shined
he
that
takes-
all up
No.
to where it makes a lot of sense.
I called him the other day and I was like, dude, I'm just listening back to some of these podcast episodes and you just clean this stuff up. So
Thank you.
No.
So publicly, thank you.
No, I love you guys.
Keep
Thank you.
going.
I feel
Must be
encouraged.
nice.
Thank you. Must be nice.
Must be nice to have that ability.
Yeah, if you have enough brain trauma, you too can have
I've
access to these.
really
thoughts.
worked on it, and I feel
Here's
like
the
I'm
deal.
going the other way.
I'm just gonna say it is nice to have the big Samoan next to me to clean up my ramblings.
It is nice.
But you always give me so much good springboard. You have lead us into great conversation, man. I'm thankful for the way that this podcast shakes out. Always, we all lead each other down avenues that I wouldn't have gotten to on my own, and I think it's the same thing with all of us. Like, oh, that's a good point. I want to see.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, all of those, I'm thankful for what you guys said, and I think just to put my little bow on that, I think that you just have to people that have church hurt. It's absolutely because of the failure of people. That's what it was. You know, it wasn't the failure of God in any way, shape, or form. So.
Yeah, that's so well said. I mean, I think as a generality, because there's always certain situations that are worse than others. Because I know I've heard situations where like people have been specifically hurt by the pastor or by this or by that. But what you have to do is, and I know this is easier said than done, but you have to get to a point where this is so much bigger than any person.
Yeah.
You have to get to a point where when you realize who you're dealing with and what we're dealing with, who cares what anyone says?
Yeah.
And this goes back to a big passion of mine lately is that the fear of God has to live above the fear of man.
Yes.
And so when you think about the fear of eternity and the fear of the Lord in a right way, meaning being the fear of being separated from the creator of the universe, the person that gave you your specific thumbprint. He knows the numbers of hairs on your head. He knows, your iris in your eye that's so unique. He designed you, all the desires and all the good things in you, he placed in you for a reason. And the fact that the fear of being separated from that person is so great that I don't care what any man says, does, or think. And I understand that is a mature place to be.
Yes.
But if you slow down, you can get there long enough, hopefully, to get over that quick offense. Maybe you don't have full healing from the offense, but to press in just like you would, because I think a lot of it's this animal like desire, and sometimes maybe it's lust, but it's like, okay, you got your heart hurt, you're still going to go after that next girl that comes by that you feel that tug at, right? You failed in jiu-jitsu, you got choked out, you had a bad training partner. In fact, you had a jerk on the mat who actually injured you and you had to get a surgery. You're probably going to come back to jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
Watch the Jocko Good video.
Right.
As you're listening to all that, I'm like, good,
true.
good. I just want to just derail us 1 second. The question, all this stuff is right, and this is good ammo, but the question is,
Thank you.
how do you convey that to someone you care about?
I mean, explaining how. So what he was talking about spiritual maturity. That's once you can, if you can explain this to somebody, like when you walk with God, he'll give you eyes to see that these people are completely imperfect, that they're sinful, that they mess up, and that it had nothing to do, that the failure wasn't on his part. It was on their part, and we're all sinful. And so when you start to see that, you start to have compassion, and this is, I mean, I'm making it personal because I had this, an experience where, like, my dad, so all of us, and we found this out through Pursuit, that most men carry some version of a father wound, right? Even if your dad was awesome. My dad was awesome, but there are ways that I think that he failed me, or that I didn't realize.
Because he's human.
Yeah, he's human. But I was so angry at certain, I didn't realize how angry I was on certain things. But as you mature in your faith, God gives you eyes not only to see, hey, he's human. You failed miserably in many areas, and your dad was trying really hard and he failed, but he gave me compassion. That's part of spiritual maturity, I think, is for a person to get to the point where they say, yeah, you know what? It wasn't God. God didn't fail me through this person.
So the answer is to show them, this person you care about, that all of these things.
Yes,
you have to live that out and show that out.
If you want a little
caring, loving way,
richness on the fear of God, I think I've talked about this once before, but last question, I referenced the John Bevere book. Let me reference another John Bevere book, The Awe of God. Mm-hmm. It's the one I've been reading lately. So good. really helps put this in perspective, really helps put that fear of the Lord in perspective. And man, it's an overlooked thing by a lot of people.
I think acknowledging someone's church hurt, like just saying like, hey, I know because we've all experienced some version of it, or at least know a person that's been affected deeply by it, and just acknowledging someone's hurt and pain, saying, I totally understand why you feel that way. If that had happened to me, I would feel the same way. But you have to know that it's not, that is not a representation of who God is. That's not his character and his nature. So give it another try.
It's actually
keep looking.
It's actually the bait of Satan.
Yep.
I mean, it's the enemy using a imperfect person and their mistake to bait you away from the Lord.
Yep.
It's a tough one, and I also want to revert back to the thing I said in the last one. You need to be praying for that person.
Perfect.
I mean, we've got to be praying and asking for the Holy Spirit to create these opportunities.
I got a couple that are more like quick, lighthearted ones. Well, I mean, lighthearted, like they're not deep, but someone says,
We can round it out with that.
do you train when doing a full fast or just water fast? I tried and it didn't go well. And number 2, what is on your Christian hype mix, workout mix? So my quick answers there is I've done a 3-day water fast only, and I trained hard every day, and I would not recommend that. I was dehydrated and depleted, and it took me out for like the day after that I didn't get to train. So maybe just like manage your workouts or training. You can push yourself, but be careful. 2, what is Christian hype mix, workout mix? We actually have a Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu USA Spotify playlist that we play at the live events, and so there's a lot of good Christian rap, hip hop,
KB,
Tadashi,
Yeah. Check those out.
Who I've been listening to lately when I've been lifting weights, because I mostly listen to either worship music or country music, but I used to like rock. I mean, we all in middle school and high school liked the same music, but who I've been listening to lately while I've been lifting weights, who's not a Christian artist but is a Christian, and so I heard that, so I started deeply listening to his lyrics. I'm like, dude, this guy put out some freaking good lyrics, but it's NF.
Oh yeah.
And specifically his new album was really good. It's called Hope, I think.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed that album.
Got one with Tech 9 on there. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good album.
He goes dark, but he's real. He talks about real stuff. So
Yeah,
I like him.
Well, he's dealing with a lot of the things that these people are asking questions about.
Right, exactly.
Like that song called Mama. His mom was an addict.
Yeah.
Alcoholic, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
She died from it.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is he's talking about like when you met Jesus in heaven. It's good.
So this is a little more. This is actually a little deeper. And we can.
I know. Land this plane.
I got one. Sorry.
One more
I got
pass.
this one and then
one more
a lighter
pass.
one afterwards.
Okay.
Not even that. This guy said,
You have one job.
Can you talk about the parallels of jiu-jitsu and faith? I mean, we do this. We've done this over 50 episodes because stuff comes up all the time. He said, example, James 1:2, getting crushed in side control helps me grow and learn. Thus, I will rejoice in these troubled times.
That's a solid application.
I will tap and appreciate the grace. This is Kyle Matson. Yeah, man. I mean, there's.
It sounds like you're on the
billion
right
of them.
track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, perseverance, going through struggle. So here's. Yeah. Oh, I literally am open. That's funny. I'm open to James 1:2 right now.
What a
and
coincidence.
James 1:2 is already underlined.
Count it all.
Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. This is 3. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing.
AKA, I sent a video to this group 2 hours ago from November 11th, 2022. Just so I happen to look at the date of Isaac on bottom with a heavy, good black belt, a 230 pound,
Nah,
220.
he says he's 200.
What?
Yeah, there's no way.
That's weird.
No, he's 200
Cuts down to
plus,
that.
200 plus, black belt, competitor, owns his own gym, former wrestler, strong, lifts weights. Anyways, he has Isaac in side control, and Isaac just bench pressed him up, jumped, technical stood up, picked him up, slammed him down like a rag doll, and then jumped over and took his back.
Yeah.
Well, I got
Absolutely frightening.
he scratched the inside of my ear when he was trying to Bravo choke me, which was a legit Bravo setup. But his thumbnail raked the inside of my ear, and my ear was bleeding later. And it just like, I just was like, you know, and but he got behind. He got
Cowabunga it is.
Yeah, I was.
I'm
it was
just
cowabunga.
saying, you
but I had that
haven't-
grip behind the armpit.
Yeah, you haven't experienced trials and tribulations
No,
until
I
you
have.
scratched the inside of Isaac's
I
ear.
got crushed by Big Ryan the other day. Not a whole lot I could
It's a
do.
Terminator.
Got smushed.
Excellent
Yeah.
parallels, though.
Yeah, great parallels. Let's see.
There's a mute button, bro.
So there's a lot of questions for JP too, which of course we'll do another Q&A. So y'all, your questions are not. Most of your questions are going to get answered, even if it's not this episode. I
do want to encourage you though, if we put out another poll to re-ask your question, like when the time comes for that next Q&A, to re-ask the question, just because we get so much inbound, you know.
Correct.
There's
One more.
well, this is a kind of a quick one from Angela, our friend, and
Oh, yeah.
she said, "When are you coming to Dedeco's?"
That is on our radar.
That's on our radar. Probably fall.
Hoping to do it this year.
Yes.
That's one of the ones we wanted to make priority that we've not planned, but
I've been to
Discussed.
Dedeco's, but you weren't training then, Angela,
how do you know?
because I saw when she started, and I was there for multiple days.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
I have not.
I love that gym.
I haven't been there.
Love Dedeco.
Never
Dude,
been there.
it's one. It's
I love
absolutely.
Dedeco, though.
If I couldn't, if I lived up there, that's where I'd be. Which
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Dedeco is our jiu-jitsu grandpa.
Right.
You should see him and I at a restaurant. It's just dangerous.
We're going to.
It's dangerous.
It will be a good
We
time.
just both keep going.
I'm with
The
it. But yeah,
he's just such a happy, good human. But he's our jiu-jitsu grandpa. We will be there. We're coming.
this year.
It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna stay for 3 weeks.
Oh,
As soon as my wife hears that, she's gonna.
so we need to really plan this.
This could be a deep one, but we're just going to keep it on the surface level here and give a quick answer. Would love to hear each of you share about if or how you've gotten your kids to train jiu-jitsu without forcing them into it.
Twist their arm and make them do it.
Yeah, I mean,
So I forced mine into it.
Yeah.
I burned them out, and then they spent years not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But then they saw me still going, and on their own decided to. So do not burn them out.
no.
I was talking to a couple at the gym today, some friends from the kid class parents. I had Brody up there. Brody is 7.5, and he's been training since he was 4.5, which is young to start. My number one goal, even to now, because they were asking if I'd put Brody in competitions, which he's starting to ask about comps and whatnot. And so I'm starting to think about it. But up front, I purposely wasn't even going there because I'm like, my number one goal for Brody in jiu-jitsu is to not... My number one goal is for him to have a good experience.
He should have
fun,
fun.
and have a good experience because it's easy, especially when we train, to want to live through them. Like,
Yes.
because here's the thing: I'm sitting next to a dad that I smash
Yes.
at noon class, so my boy better be smashing his boy.
Right.
Nope. I got to check that ego.
Yeah. It's
And
not what
we
it's
gotta
about.
We got to check that ego anyways from
Yeah,
the
right.
beginning. But it's not what it's about. It's about him having fun. One of the things for me, I was trying to help Brody when he got started. I was paying for some privates, not crazy amounts, but occasionally just to help him sharpen a few little things. I wasn't trying to be the overbearing person, but I was like, hey, I know if I can help him with a few of these things with some privates, that he'll have more fun because he'll do better.
Right.
Well, everything he was working on was stuff that I like. And then I realized, and I mean, I'm not going to lie, a little part of me died, but he's a bottom player.
Yeah.
It just feels good to get that out.
That's because he's an
Hi.
intellectual.
Hi, my name's Steven, and my son is a bottom player.
He's smarter than you.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
Totally. I love it. I love
it's
it.
cool to
and I
watch.
wish I could go to a young age. And I mean, I was watching him today,
I know,
and he's
man.
just freaking working people over,
Yeah.
having fun, doing what he likes. But I had to realize, oh, wait a second. My son actually enjoys the opposite of what I enjoy. Cool. I got to support him in that. But I got to
Correct.
be smart enough to recognize it, support him in that, and encourage him in it, right? So,
Yes.
anyways, because he was, I was so frustrated because he was giving up his back and like he wasn't coming up. And then I realized, wait a second, he's trying to like pull guard. He wants to be underneath and he needs someone to show him how to properly do it.
Yeah.
And then that switch flipped and he's having a blast. So I think it's all about positive experience.
He trains with Formiga. I mean,
Yeah,
he's going to show him what to do.
I do what
what to do.
what my dad did with me and my brothers when we played football. So he was like, "Hey, you're gonna play football." So it was like not even a question. So assuming I'm gonna play football, then it was support. So he just always tried to make us the best he could. But that was because he's like when you're really young, like if you're like, "Hey, do you want to do chores or do you want to sit on the couch?" Like it's a really obvious.
Well, okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do you want to go do jiu-jitsu or do you want to play video games? That it left to their own devices, they're like, oh, video games all day. But if you're like,
that's
hey,
a good point
yeah,
because
do you
I
want jujitsu or this?
just sat here. I don't mean to overtake you. I just sat here and said, don't force your kids to do it, but they need to be doing something.
Yes.
So to clarify, that's the approach I took after I burned mine out, and then we pulled our kids out of school. We homeschool now. So there was no sports in school. It was, okay, you're going to do something, whether it's kickboxing or lifting weights or rec league. You're going to pick something to do. The choice is not just sit on the couch. So that's a great point.
And you got to make sure they got coaches that are looking out for them.
Yeah.
And you can't be so concerned because the jiu-jitsu is a game of pressure. And it's a pressure cooker. So you got to let them feel that.
True.
But, hey, you know what I want? I love watching my son because I will freaking, dude, it's like my children, we all are this way, like, bro.
Yeah.
But I love watching my son struggle with, he's got Formiga on the mat, who cares about him? He's got Mike Brown on the mat, who cares about him? Victoria. I'm sitting right there. It's this perfectly controlled environment.
Yeah. True.
It's the most beautiful thing watching him have these struggles and these hardships with dad. He knows all he's got to do is look up and dad's right there. Right there watching. And so it's perfect that he is in this safe environment and he's getting to work through some of these really hard things. But the key thing is no matter whether Brody has a good round, a bad round, a good day, a bad day, that dad is supporting him and not trying to live vicariously through him. Not demanding perfection, not making him going to do these competitions, right? We want to push them. It's like, I think, Isaac, you said it perfectly. Like, we do want to help our kids achieve excellence in the sport, but there's a time and a place. So, personal example, some of these people were asking me about Brody doing competitions. I'm like, well, he's now starting to ask me about a competition. So now I'm open to it. And here's the other thing. Brody, he's a thinker, so he's really good at learning the techniques and the positions, but he was a little slower with the aggression, but his aggression's starting to come out now. So I didn't want to send him in as a 4.5-year-old.
Right. And that's
where there's
young.
some tornado kid that's been wrestling since he was 2.5 in Russia. You know what I mean?
Fighting bears.
And him just get smashed out of just lack of aggression.
Because it'll damage him.
That's
and
right.
Be like, well, I don't want to do that anymore.
So I think you've got to steward this thing, and you've got to just let them have fun, but get them in the environment. And I say,
and in the right coaching environment, the coaches are going to know too.
That's right, and that's what I was getting at with the safe places. Make sure that they have just a good kids program, and that it's coaches that cares, and it's not a bunch of like white and blue belt dads that are, you see those unhealthy. Like we see it in like kids football, where it's like, bro, you need to sit down.
Sit down before I sit you down.
Yeah, but make sure they're in a good, healthy environment with coaches that care about them, that care about teaching them the sport. And I like to do things like, I talk to Brody all the time. I'm like, hey man, we're little, so like we lift weights, we train jiu-jitsu, we read our Bible, we worship Jesus and no one else. Like that's just what we do, man. And ultimately, like all those things are his choice. But I'm setting that example of, we do this because we do this. This is part of what makes us who we are.
Right.
Yeah, Zeke. So one way that I'm getting him to not be burned out, I can tell, is like, so he asked me to do his first competition. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So he did it. We trained for it. After, there was another tournament coming up, the one that just passed this past weekend, that I coached at, but he didn't compete at. I asked him if he wanted to compete, and he said something that was actually really cool. He was like, he was like, I just want to keep practicing, Dad. I'm like, do you want to ask him? Do you want to compete? He's like, I think I just want to keep practicing for right now, which is cool because he just got promoted. He's the youngest and the smallest in that division, and in that new like belt rank. And I saw Theo Lee, my friend Theo Lee he was like a sick black belt. Love training with him. I trained with him at Marcus Antelantes a lot. He asked me if my son was competing. He was like, no, I asked him if he wanted to compete. He said he wants to just practice for a little while right now. He goes, man, that's such a mature move because for him to be like, this is something I want to keep working on before I go compete was a cool move for a 6-year-old to be coming to. But to give him the freedom didn't come from like, this is what a decentralized command thing, I think. You define the box, you build the box, you define the box. Here are the parameters, the decisions I'm going to allow you to make. So you're going to do jiu-jitsu. But you can. I let him pick. Yeah. But you're going to stay for one big kids class this week. Do you want it to be on Tuesday night or Wednesday night? And he's like, Tuesday night. Instead of like, no, I don't want to stay for the big kids class. Like if left to his own devices, you know. But like when you make,
this is really good, Isaac. Keep going.
But the box I defined is like, I didn't tell him you're going to compete no matter what. It was like, do you want to compete? Yeah. How long do you want to train before you feel ready again? Like it might just be, but if it's his decision to continue. He's going to train jiu-jitsu, but how often he competes and
he's got options for himself.
Yes,
there's an underlying,
which makes him feel like then he doesn't get burned out because he doesn't feel trapped. So you get burned out when you feel like you don't have any choice at all.
Yeah. And he feels like he's in control of his journey, his path. He has ownership over big kid class now.
Yeah.
I picked when I'm doing big kid class because I feel like it, and so
I'm in.
And I also think I try to do little things like I'll reward Brody with a treat. Like if he's overly aggressive one day or if he hits some new move or like the move, I'll pick a reason to celebrate him. Bro, I saw you do this. Like you were crazy. Great. With that person, like let's go get
the same thing.
Let's go get a Slurpee.
Yeah. A Slurpee, okay. All right, sometimes
Burrito Supreme, Taco Bell.
Oh yeah, it's a Freddy's frozen custard cone for us. This is right down the street from Jiu-Jitsu. So
it's key, that's key, man. That's really. I like how you said that. Like giving him. That's really the wise advice. The one thing I'll share, and then let's wrap this thing up. But I heard Jocko on a podcast. He had I don't think he still does it, but he had like a jiu-jitsu podcast with Dean Lister for a while. Did you know about this?
I didn't.
Underground?
I did not.
Oh, he still does the underground.
Not underground. Jocko. Anyways, there's a jiu-jitsu podcast.
Oh, I think I remember when he did that because he had a couple of guys that come on from the.
It was cool. Like it was grappling. But anyways, there's an episode with Dean Lister, and there's some really good episodes. But I heard Jocko talk about 2 dads in their gym that were good buddies, and they got their kids to train. And one got his kid to start training really young, like 5-6 years old. He was training. The other one, the kid came out and was like, I don't like this dad. Didn't train. This one kid's training like 5, 6, 7 years old. 2 years later, the kid comes back. I don't like this. Didn't train. Dads are still training. The one boy's still training. Now he's like 8, 9 years old. The other friend comes back. Yeah, I don't like this. Didn't train. So this kid's been training for 5, 6 years consistently. At 10 years old, 10 or 11, the other boy came back, just loved it. Was like, Dad, I love this. And in 3 months, he was subbing and wearing out the kid that had been training for 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
And so what Jocko's like, I witnessed this firsthand in my own gym, and I've witnessed it many times since then. And Jocko's like, I did it all wrong because I was the hardcore. My kids were wrestling, they were training. He's like, what you have to understand is you'd be better off, and this is where I got my whole approach of just like, I just want Brody to have fun and a good experience. You'd be better off to not ramrod your kid.
Yeah.
Because them training from 5 to 10 is not the difference maker.
No.
Some kid's going to come in at 10 and be a 3-month white belt and is going to wear them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want longevity, and that's totally right. I don't want my son giving up at 10 because I pushed him so hard from 4 years old to 10 years old.
No, you want him training at 35 years old.
And feeling and like very thankful for the basis that he had when he was younger, but never only growing in passion and not being.
Think about when our kids are 34. If they stick with it, they'll be training for 30 years.
Jeez, man.
At 34, I was training for 3.5 years.
Yeah, close to the same for me. Yeah. So I think it's just I think it's all good info. We got the one guy that did it wrong up front, and you're winning the long game because your boys are like
they're both training. They're consistent.
Absolutely getting after it.
I love it.
Redemption's the perfect Jesus story right there, man.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? And then Isaac, I love that. That aspect of we're gonna do this, but I'm gonna give you some control inside of it. It's so powerful.
Yeah, well, I learned that that's a Jocko thing, you know.
Yeah.
Just the
That is smart.
Yeah.
That's what we do. They go twice a week, and they choose Tuesday, Thursday.
Yep.
Formiga did take a choice away from Jake though this last week because he does the.
But that's different when it's a coach.
I know the adults. He does the adults class now because he's so big and he's been doing it for a while. But I heard Formiga grab some of the because some other of the teens have been in there because they're kind of in limbo. They're too big for. They're not as big as Jake, but they're still kind of big. But he told him, he was like, if you're going to train the adult class, you're still going to come and you're going to help with the kids class. So he had to start that this week. And
because Jarrett's in that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, and I texted Jake today. They went tonight. It's the day we're recording this, and I was like, hey, man, you didn't say anything about that. I'm proud of you. Like, I know back-to-back classes a lot, but, like, Formiga wants you to do this, and you stepped up. So, like,
wow,
good
awesome.
job.
That's great.
The last 2 weeks, he's walked in the gym, and Brody's class is going on when he shows up. And I'm like, hey, Jake, like, if you go get changed, like, we can go over there on that mat, and I'll warm you up with, like, some light rolls. And he's like, no. And I'm like, Jake, I'll do it today in my Wranglers. Like, in my jeans, let's go.
He's like, no.
He's like, I see the trap coming.
Yeah.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's good.
Man, that was a good time.
Yep.
Thank you guys for
no,
same thing. Thank you guys for your questions, and thank you for caring, enough to send this stuff into us because we truly do care about you guys, and we're thankful we had the opportunity to answer some of those questions. So
I just appreciate y'all for trusting us.
Yep.
We're on this journey with you guys. Man, we're just trying to learn the word.
Yep.
And strengthen ourselves.
Yeah.
Walking out with real things. And it's fun to get to do it here on air with our brothers, and it's fun. The Q&A is fun because it gets you guys some involvement with us.
Yeah,
and
I like all the there's deep questions. I like the silly questions because those are fun. You can find little things out about us, and we can see where your head's at.
Yeah,
it's funny stuff too. So
totally, I consistently say it, but I'm just humbled to even, just to have people asking questions.
Yeah,
it's humbling. It's so humbling to get to do this with you men.
Yep.
It's always an honor to have Lucas on our team.
Yes.
And, of course, our brother JP. So I'll pray it out if you guys are good with that.
Let's go.
Jesus, we just thank you for this time. Lord, I hope that you get all the glory, not only from this podcast, but from this ministry and from our lives, Lord. We just want to honor you in what we do, and we just want to bring you glory. We want to help bring your kingdom to earth, and we're passionate about growing your kingdom, Lord. Thank you for all these listeners, and thank you for their questions, their hearts. I thank you for this group of people that are moving together through Jiu-Jitsu and through the things of you, Lord. I just pray that each of these listeners will continue to dive into the word, your word, strengthen themselves. Lord, I just want to pray over these situations we've heard, like men in their lives that are maybe dealing with depression, or people that have had church hurt, and people that are trying to learn how to seek you and how to share your gospel with people they train with, people they care about. So, Lord, I just want to pray for all these people that they'll be strengthened. Lord, I pray that they'll be able to hear your voice clearer, sense the promptings of your Holy Spirit stronger in their life. Lord, I pray that you'll just make a way. You already have, Lord, but I pray you'll expose it to them. I just thank you for your redemptive work in our lives, for the grace you've given us through the cross and the empty tomb, and we just love you, Jesus. Thank you for our brother Lucas in here and his wife and soon-to-be 2 children. Just thank you for the sacrifices they make to make this podcast happen. Lord, I pray for health over Lucas's wife, over the new baby, Jesus, and over their whole family through this process, but especially over that new baby and his wife. As they near the end of their pregnancy, Lord, I pray that you'll just put your hand of protection over them. Bless them in all areas for their service to you, Jesus. Be with our brother JP as he travels, and be with his family. Lord, we love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
This has been Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu Podcast, episode 051. Don't miss next week, as it's the 1-year anniversary of
Boom.
Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu.
Boom. Go train. I mean it. Go train.